still think in the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, if you look at the supply and demand curve right now, I think we're seeing appreciation right now. I mean,
I agree.
You know, I mean, you look at the average sale price in Tampa last year was 140. Today it's 170. I mean, that's. And I mean, if you look at 3 months of supply, I mean, real estate's all supply and demand. So if you have 3 months of supply and you have consumers, and I hear this every day, my agents come in and say, lost out on another multiple offer situation, you know, lost out on another one, lost out. That tells me that there are more home buyers that are ready, willing, and able to buy, that they're not able to find inventory. What happens then? Prices go up. Either the seller is in the driver's seat, you know?
And that's exactly right. You know, firsthand I can tell you in the last 4 months, in every neighborhood that I have in Tampa, or that we have in Tampa, we have increased the prices. In some neighborhoods, as many as 4 times in the last 4 months.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at
you're
this.
selling.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the stats
the
here.
demand is still there.
Average sale price in August 2012, 175,813. Average sale price last year, okay, at the same time. So, you know, I always hear people talk about, oh, the prices since January are up by X, but there's so much seasonality that goes into that. So you got to look at year over year. August of last year, 157. I mean, that's
what's your listing period? That's way down.
Right. It went from 111 days as the average in August to 85 today. My average is 24, however, but that's a whole
Which
other.
we
That's a whole.
delightfully know. eRC homes are very delightful.
That's a whole other conversation. But no. But in all honesty, it is up. So I think that trend continues unless, you know. And again, there's also that whole conspiracy side of people that think, well, the bank foreclosures aren't hitting the market, and is there being something done in Washington to keep those from hitting the market, to make the real estate market artificially better, to help someone in an election bid? And that's a whole other conversation, but nonetheless, there's not many foreclosures hitting the market either, and I think that's also a contributing factor to this, that an eRC isn't seeing a foreclosure that often that they can buy and fix up, nor is the regular end consumer, so you're seeing the benefit in some of these other markets, because people need to buy and they need to have a home to live in, you know, and they can't buy foreclosure because they're not there.
I think either on or off the record, these banks that are quote too big to fail. I've told you before, we will buy a home at 10 o'clock in the morning from a bank, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon we will sell a home to a customer, and it's the same bank financing the buy. So it's very clear that there's a tremendous interest in stabilization, and the only way they can keep that stabilized is to keep that inventory in trickle.
So again, and I think the thing I look at that's, I think, frustrating to me, though, is that they're doing this, I think they're making national decisions about something that's a local thing. You know, so they're saying, let's trickle out the inventory. But in Tampa Bay right now, we need the inventory. 3 months inventory, I mean, we're getting buyers frustrated and angry and thinking we did something wrong because they can't get a home, when in all actuality it's the market that's causing that problem. And you know, so if they looked at it, they could probably trickle out some more inventory in some of these markets across the country that do have this huge curve. Now, does that mean it's happening in Detroit, Michigan, or Indianapolis, Indiana, or Dayton, Ohio? No, but in Tampa, Florida right now, 3 months of inventory, they could load up another 3 months and we'd still be in a healthy market. You know, I mean, 6 months of inventory is healthy. You know, 3 months is, man, we don't have a lot to sell.
Back to your point of a couple minutes ago, and I think this applies to Pulte, who will buy large tracts of land, but you know they infill. And so you look at that 5 years from now, that's going to be urbanized. I think that people that like, specifically, this area to live in, be it in Brandon, Riverview, be it in South Tampa, be it in Carrollwood, Northdale, you combine interest rates with upcoming inflation, with urbanization, with cost of commuting, with gas and oil, stuff that's not going to go down, and look out 10 years, 2020, 2022, you could see, I'm not saying you will, but you could see inflationary trends that people in my age bracket saw back in the 70s and 80s, when it was just runaway.
And interest rates were just astronomically high.
And inflation running with it.
Right.
But interestingly enough, these areas we are talking about today, all around the country, be it Dallas, San Francisco, LA, Tampa, they are infilled.
Yeah.
The whole thing is different now, and that urbanization thrust it should be very price supportive.
More and more people are calling downtowns home, and I think again you look in some of these large locales, and you're right when you talk about gas costs and things like that. But if you look at some of the major cities, they're growing extremely fast. We've seen that in Tampa. We saw it more in the boom than we've seen recently. You haven't seen as much building of condos and things, but I think that'll make a comeback too. More people wanting to live closer to the employment center. Once condo financing can get sorted out and people can actually get a loan on a condo again, because right now that's a
probably
nightmare.
coming.
Yeah.
But I think it is coming.
Absolutely. I mean, you see downtown, that epicenter there, not only do you have that, but you have the employment base of McDill Air Force Base, which is
Huge.
just south of downtown.
Sure.
So that South Tampa corridor and everything outside, the affordability of going out to Riverview or Fishhawk or Brandon area, those folks still commute to downtown, commute to the base, and I think that is where the explosion has
Well,
come.
and the base has been a huge beacon for our real estate market. I mean, let's face it, I think, every month we're selling homes to soldiers or helping them buy a home. And in fact, we've got a question this week from TJ from McDill Air Force Base, and I'm actually going to answer it after our break.